Hello and welcome to Bottoms Up. I am your host, Carrie Hamilton. Somewhere along the way, convenience replaced commitment. We stopped having conversations and started choosing comfort. Desire became easier than devotion, and avoidance felt safer than honesty. But the truth is, relationships, marriages, any type of commitment, it doesn't fail because the love disappears. It fails because the effort does. Today we're talking about the shift from the love of power to the power of love, and why connection still requires courage, communication, and commitment. If you've ever felt this tension, then you're in the right place. This episode is for you. Gone are the days for the love of power, and now are the days for the power of love. What do you mean by this, Carrie? Well, in our parents' generation or even grandparents' generation, love was always something that basically the men were valued for love by what they could provide. And the women were to be submissive to the men because that was how she showed her appreciation and showed her love for her man. So a lot of times, obviously, men would compare to other men, and then they would obviously want to do more, be more, get more. And if they couldn't, then what is the thief of joy? It's comparison. So those who couldn't compare would then abuse and obviously mentally manipulate the women, so then they don't go anywhere. They stay in the abuse, and they feel they can't move or go anywhere because the men were the ones that provided. Well, gone are those days of power. Now, there's been so many rights and laws and regulations and so forth to make the feminine and the masculine of equal people. So therefore, women were able to get construction jobs. Women were, treated the same that men were, and, they were to be looked at the same way. There wasn't to be any discriminatory things and so forth. Well, when women started seeing this, women were like, okay, well then I don't need a man, and they started doing the man's job. Or they were forced to do this because they started having a voice, voicing out the abuse and knowing that they don't have to stay in an abusive relationship and or marriage. So therefore, they started leaving their abusers. They were taking that power away from the men, whether it was abuse or actually physically providing and giving that power of them providing. So what now is going on is, since the man and the women are pretty much of equal value as far as going to get a job and doing whatever, as far as a household goes and providing for your child or children and family, a man and a woman can equally both provide. And so therefore, now that women are knowing this and having a stance in providing, they're not settling for disrespect, abuse, lack of emotion. And see, with men, they don't want to show emotion because emotion for them was always a sign of weakness. And the funny thing is it's not actually a weakness that women see. Women actually like when men show the emotion because then they know we connect on emotion. So then they know where their man is and how they feel. Where men are shown as weak when they show emotion is men to men. And some were raised that way. You get hurt, your dad or mom would always say, get up, don't, brush it down, stuff it down, you're fine. They wouldn't acknowledge any pain. So men never felt that they could, do that stuff because it was shown as weakness, instead of a normal human being is supposed to have emotion with things that you do in life, whether it is good or bad, happy, sad, whatever. So now fast forward to 2025, we are living in a convenience world. You could do your banking convenient. You could get a car convenient. You could schedule appointments conveniently. You can go grocery shopping conveniently. Basically, everything you pretty much do in life is convenient. However, when it comes to love, love will never be a convenience. It's a commitment. And commitment takes work. Commitment takes time. Commitment takes process and changes and so forth. So individuals now, especially marriages, long committed type relationships, they are having all these things put in their face. So now when they have issues in their committed relationship / marriage, they are tempted to take on the conveniency that's at their fingertip as a fast fix. However, they will always have a permanent problem. So let's say you lack intimacy because you've been married for 20 years and it just dies down. You have kids, life happens, things change, and so forth. Well, if you are not individuals that keep the fire going, the flame going, and still dating each other, having a date night every month or every 2 weeks or so forth, and being the couple you were before you had kids and before life took over, and you're not doing the communication piece to talk to one another, that's where one takes up the conveniency and acts upon their problems, which is why a lot of divorce is happening, a lot of cheating is happening, and a lot of broken hearts are happening because there are some people that have done work inside of themselves and they want to be in a committed relationship and or eventually marriage, and people don't know how to do their relationship other than conveniently because that's what's at their fingertips. But you see, love is not a external emotion. Love is an internal emotion. How you love yourself, how you view things as love, that is how you are able to love. So therefore, anything external, that's not love, it's desires. So you are basically acting upon a desire to fulfill a temporary fix, but you will always have a permanent problem because you're not getting a permanent solution by discussing the situations, discussing your problems, having that communication in your marriage and so forth. And then therefore it becomes bigger and bigger and bigger, and then eventually you act upon it. So what do? So many people want to say, oh, the dating pool's garbage, everyone's broken. We all are broken. We're all broken because we all have been faced with sin. We came into this world perfect, and now we're all imperfect. And also, having imperfections is how we learn. We are people that basically need to go through the great suffering to know what great love is. That's part of the process. That's how we grow. But when you have conveniency at your fingertips, you see, as humans, we are all creatures of habit. That is why breaking habits, you need to have consistency. Well, if your consistency is banking online and doing, grocery shopping online, and you're doing all these fast fixes, and that's how you are basically in the habitual way of doing your life, well, now when it comes to problems and relationships and marriages and commitments, that's how you habitually handle your problems in those situations. But again, love will never be convenience. It will be of commitment. And that's where the problem is. That is where communication is key, and also action is key. You could voice things all day long and say this is what you want, but if you are not fully committed and you're not showing those actions, then you just want nothing but a convenience. And then if you don't have that communication with the individual up front, well, now they're all hurt because you basically treated them as a convenience and got your fast fix of whatever it was that you met with them for, and told them you wanted it forever, but you clearly didn't. And now that's why there's so much anger and hatred and so forth in this world as far as relationships and marriages and trust go. Now, another thing is that trust and love are two different things. Trust is earned. Love is not earned. Love is a feeling, an emotion, a companionship, a commitment, as I said. So people are confusing trust and love, and that's another reason why individuals can't move forward, because they feel they can't trust and they're associating that with finding love. And that's not necessarily the case. You have to learn how to build trust and build it with individuals, and not jumping into the fact of finding love. You see, you have to build. This is why you shouldn't put all your eggs out right away when you meet somebody, sleep with them, do all whatever, and give them basically everything when you first meet them, because you have to build that trust in order to get to that loving companion and that intimate and authentic part of that individual. You have to earn that trust between each other. You see, manipulation takes place the further and further away that your mentality is away from your personality. So basically, mental abuse and manipulation is how you get taken advantage of. So you have to make sure that you heal the inner self and you find your mentality as far as what you want, what you need. Feel it in your soul, be authentic, because going forward, authenticity is basically the new power. People know when people are being fake, and because again, love is an emotion, and so the way people act and your actions of who you are, those speak volumes. Energy will always speak over mentality. So if someone can totally feel your fake energy and the lies and the manipulation and so forth, they're going to know that you're not for them, that you're not a good person. So therefore, the only way to find true love is by being authentic, being yourself. Stop trying to change for people. Stop trying to minimize yourself for people. Stop trying to please people on levels that don't fit you. You have to be authentic and you have to be yourself, and what is for you will attract to you, and they won't want to change you by any means, because they are attracted and they are into the same exact things that you are, because they are being just as equally authentic. So they don't want to change anything because they enjoy and have the same views and so forth that you have. And what is the opposite of love? Many would answer hate, but actually it's not hate, it's fear. People don't have emotion towards something or show anger or hatred or any of those things unless it's something that they fear inside of themselves. So if they start seeing certain red flags, let's just say, that's not necessarily a red flag to another person. It may be a red flag to them because they had some sort of emotional experience that ended in a negative way, and therefore that's fear that's talking to them, not hatred. So I think that's another thing too that a lot of people misunderstand, is that just because somebody is showing an alert or your mind is saying, hey, hold on, this is a red flag, it doesn't necessarily mean that it's a true red flag. It could just be a red flag because of the emotional stance that you were in at one point in time, which caused you great pain and suffering, so you don't want to go down that road again. That doesn't necessarily mean that the person is a bad person. This is why I often say to people that you must be spiritually fed and not emotionally led. Because if you let your emotions take the steering wheel of your life, you will pass up so many great opportunities. Because once you actually heal that fear inside of you for whatever it is or whatever you're against and whatever you're facing, you can move forward. Now, don't get me wrong. There's things that are fearful that you shouldn't go down again. Like if you were abused, obviously, yeah, that is something fearful. And I'm not saying that if you heal it all, you should go for an abuser again. Like, I'm not saying that by any means. But what I'm saying is that, for instance, myself, I had experienced a narcissistic, abusive, I don't want to say man, I will say devil, because no man would treat another man, let alone a woman, that way. But anyway, so if I experience things that aren't yet healed inside of me, like one thing for me, trust is a huge thing now. I used to trust everybody. I used to kind of live by like the whole, innocent until proven guilty type thing. I wanted to believe everybody had the same heart as me, and I was always just giving and thinking that, even if someone treated me poorly, like they just had a bad day, that kind of thing. And now since I was burned so bad, I'm like, no, everybody's guilty until proven innocent. Now I don't trust for nothing, and that's something I need to work on, because there are people in this world that are trustworthy, and there are still good people in this world. But in order for you to find love, and in order for us to get back into this loving cycle of finding someone and finding forever, because we're not supposed to be lonely, you guys. We're not supposed to feel this way. It's so dark in this world because there's so much hatred and evilness and, like I said, heartbreak, all of that. But the way that we get back to that, the way that we get to loving companionships and trust and all of that, is you have to heal the fear within yourself of whatever experiences that you had in life and move forward from those and always love. Still answer, even if your heart wants to take you down a hatred road or, endure pain in some sort of way from an experience that you had. You still have to act in love. And until everybody can find that love in their heart and start acting authentically themselves, be yourself. That's how you're going to find love again, because anything that is for you is going to attract to you and it's going to make you happy. And happiness brings love. So I know I say all the time, heal yourself. And some people are like, I'm so sick of hearing that word heal. But that's really what needs to happen, is we really need to start placing forgiveness in our hearts for wherever the pain is and moving forward. And it begins with loving yourself. That's what you first need to do. You need to fill your cup first, because you can't pour into other people's until your cup is full. Otherwise, you will always be empty. And we all know and experience every day what an empty soul looks like. And you don't want to be that person. Even if there was a ton of monsters that you faced in your life, you must never become one of the monsters that you once fought. Before I end for today, I ask you this. Where have you chosen convenience instead of conversation? And when have you avoided commitment that required vulnerability? The power of love isn't loud, controlling, nor does it betray. It's patience, it's present, it's the willing to communicate. A real commitment doesn't trap us, it transforms us. And if this episode spoke to you today, please share it with someone. Share it with anyone that needs to hear it. Don't forget to subscribe and give us your review on Spotify. And in closing, remember this: love grows where honesty lives. Thanks so much for joining me today. Much love and see you soon.